Hey, it's Jeremy from SEO. In this video, I'm walking through the process I took to help this website generate an additional almost 200% organic traffic in a 3-month time period, and also generate dozens of AI mentions, rank for thousands of additional keywords, and generate thousands of additional visitors to their website every single month. And the process initially includes always figuring out the primary focus and primary goals to figure out what needs to be done and what we need to rank for and what we should be working on and focusing on for the client. And in this case, one of the primary goals was to work to generate additional traffic so they could retarget these visitors in the future. So in that case, then we worked to determine what keywords and phrases would make most sense from that perspective to generate those types of visitors and work to get as much traffic as possible that is relevant and also would make sense for them to continue to remarket to. So given all of that, the process then is relatively standard for most projects I work on. It almost always involves initial research and or keyword research. And based on that, then we can figure out what needs to be done with content, internal linking, content clustering. These kind of go together. We take this, let me zoom this in slightly so you can see it better. So we take keyword research initially, and based on what we find from the keyword research process, we can then build and develop content clusters to figure out what needs to be done and how content should be structured on the website to make the most sense so that we can effectively make it as easy as possible for search and AI to understand content and rank it. And then optimizing that content following AI and organic SEO principles. And then internal linking is massively undervalued in terms of how well it can help in terms of initial rankings and also ranking a content that already exists on the website. And then working to gain external backlinks from other websites, which is one of the major processes to move the needle in the long term especially for any competitive market. There are dozens or hundreds of potential keyword research tools. Essentially, the largest ones I use typically would be Ahrefs and SEMrush to work to identify targeting opportunities for keywords we want to rank for. And like I said, the focus here is high intent keywords to also look for long tail variations that competitors were either missing, not serving correctly, and or opportunities for us to potentially rank for extremely quickly, especially as we're working to build up the value of the domain in search eyes or in Google's eyes. And as you look here, you can see domain rating relatively low, but this is always based on the competing websites we're working to rank against. But in general, a DR 18 or 14 site is not going to be extremely competitive in many markets. But if we're up against local sites or sites that are not as competitive, then this can absolutely help and work to generate additional keywords and traffic, as you can see here. So all of that being said, then working to identify those content and keyword clusters, like I mentioned, and then working to build that content effectively and strategically so that we have the structure in place with a primary topic page and then supporting topic pages. And I'll explain that more here in a second with the content. So the content creation for both search and AI, and this is critical now, as you probably know as well. Developing the content in a way and setting up and structuring the content strategically with on-page optimization factors is going to make it easier for search engine algorithms and AI algorithms to understand what your content is about, which then makes it easier for you to rank in both search and in AI. And again, as you can see here, getting additional mentions in ChatGPT, Google, Perplexity, Gemini, and Copilot here, that is done by making sure your content is set up and marked up correctly and structured in a way that makes it easy for AI to determine what your content is about. And there are a number of different ways and a number of different content types you can work to optimize for that. But doing that correctly is what really makes it easier for these algorithms to understand what your content is about. One of the ways for that is strategic internal linking. And what internal linking is and why it's so valuable is it allows you to tell a search engine what content is relevant and what keyword or phrase is relevant for this content on your site. So you have complete control over the anchor text that's used and where you're linking to pass that value between pages on your site. So you have to make sure you're doing this correctly though, because doing this incorrectly can cause negative impacts for your site. So you want to make sure this is all done correctly. and making sure that you're not wasting crawl budget as you are implementing all of these factors as well. If you have too many pages that are optimized for the same keyword or phrase, you can run into issues. If you have pages that are not optimized correctly, you can run into issues. So creating an internal link structure that guides crawlers or robots or search engines or algorithms, whatever you want to call them, guides them correctly throughout your website to make it easy for them to understand what content is, where it is, what it's about, makes it easier for you to rank and be found. Content clustering and topical authority. There are a number of different ways that this is defined and talked about now, but one of the easiest ways to think about this is you have a pyramid where you have a pillar type page, supporting articles underneath it, and then related content for additional coverage underneath that. Or you can have the pillar page as the bottom part of the pyramid and you build up on top of it. Either way you want to look at it. But the value here, again, is you have a primary page that is focused on a relatively broad keyword or phrase or topic. And then you have supporting articles talking about that in more detail. So one of the strategies for doing this would be something like having a topic about your primary process or primary focus or service. And then you have subtopics, how your different industries you work in work to that service or for that service or on that product or however you want to term it. And working to build content that is all related to and links to each other strategically so that, again, it's easy for search engines to understand what your content is about. And then external backlink acquisition. This is probably one of the most valuable processes for competitive markets. And the reason why I say that, and let me put a caveat here, especially if your site is not extremely strong from a domain perspective already. If your domain is already really strong, then you can get a lot of benefit from internal linking, additional content optimization, and making sure that everything on your site is set up and structured correctly. If you don't, then you need to work to build up the authority of your domain. And one of the ways to do that effectively is with backlinks. And there are a number of different ways to work to get backlinks. The biggest process here, again, is making sure that when you are getting a link from a website, the site itself is relevant to your site, and the site itself is also a high quality site and has some level of authority to it as well. And when this is done correctly, it works extremely well to build authority for your site and makes it easier for you to rank for the keywords and phrases you want to rank for. And like I showed you initially, doing this process here was able to accomplish almost 200% growth in organic traffic in a 3-month period for this project here. And also, like I mentioned, we have dozens of AI mentions here. DR increased, which again, DR by itself is not a really great metric to determine whether or not a site will rank, but it is a good understanding as to the strength and authoritativeness of a domain. And then keywords we're ranking for, traffic improvements across the board. So extremely successful project here, working on the primary goal of ranking for more keywords and phrases that make sense and working to generate more traffic from those targeted visitors. Next steps for this project then would be scaling content production, which is working to expand on the content clusters we have with additional supporting articles, adding additional pillar pages to dominate more keyword territories and capture a greater market share, technical SEO enhancement. So this would work to, if there is ever any issue with Core Web Vitals or structured data or things like that, making sure all of that stuff is in place. Otherwise, the continued optimization processes I like to work on are adding keywords and phrases to content that is already ranking. And to do that, we can look at Google Search Console to see what opportunities we have that are getting impressions, but not necessarily a lot of clicks. That generally gives us an idea as to how we can better optimize content. Another would be looking through AI rankings and seeing where things are and how content can be better optimized for AI as well, which is a lot of times where this schema markup expansion comes into play. Having content that is marked up, especially for some of these data types related to FAQs, questions, how-tos, things like that, makes it easier for AI to understand what we want to rank for. And then continue link building, of course, as always, is working to get other websites that are relevant and high quality and trustworthy to link to us so that we can, again, continue to prove to algorithms that we are related and we're high quality and we're relevant on the topics we want to rank for. And my plan is to continue to work on all of these processes and continue delivering exponential returns in terms of traffic for this project here. Lastly, if you are looking to get qualified leads to your website and looking to do something like this in the next 90 days, you can fill out a contact form on my website It's a relatively easy form to fill out here. Go put your name, your company info, data in there, and I will take a look at your info and get back to you within 24, 48 hours to see if I'd be a good fit to help you out with your project. And that's it. Hopefully you got some value from this video. If you did, subscribe to my channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I plan to continue posting more videos like this. I'll see you in the next one.